Okay, I know how to word this. We're not looking at it so much from like a consumer protections as we are sustainability over time. So, let's say how exactly do we word this? It's like something like would, like, what's the longevity of a company? Okay, so like, what's the longevity of a company that cannot create a better product, i.e. a clothing company versus a computer company. With longevity of a company that cannot create a better product and creates perfect product, such as a piece of clothing that never that self-repairs, let's say. Something crazy. Something absolutely crazy that self-repairs, let's say. Would this company be doomed because once it reached market saturation, there would never be any more sales because the product could not break? Well, we don't even say it that way. Reach market saturation. Because the product could not break, only losing a product or wanting more would prompt sales. Would this be sustainable as a business what's the word? As a business idea, slogan, like, what's the word? There's a word. Model. Would this be sustainable as a business model? So we're going to start with this, and then we're going to investigate planned obsolescence over a period of time, and companies realizing like this non-sustainable longevity of creating the perfect product. This might take a second. It's all building up, guys. It's all building up to this moment. This fantastic, amazing moment. We're going to find out what it's all about. Because I'm actually curious, like, what it thinks about, like, mathematically about that. Like, I never thought about theft, so theft and, like, loss of product. But replacing the product is, like, the main reason. But then it's like someone like me, it's like I haven't bought a pair of clothes in probably 8 years. other than like socks. Well, that's not true. Well, male clothes. I've bought female clothes, but not like male clothes. Like I just bought a top today that we're gonna try on tomorrow. I'm super excited because it's like you'll see tomorrow, but it's gonna be great. Longevity of a company that creates a perfect product, such as self-repairing clothing that never needs replacement and cannot improve upon its, possesses an interesting question about sustainability, particularly once the market becomes saturated, unlike a computer company that thrives on technological advancements and frequent upgrades, or even a traditional clothing company that relies on wear and tear or changing fashion trends. This company's product eliminates the need for repeat purchases due to durability issues. The only drivers for additional sales would be customers losing their items. AMCR 1010, just trying to get back home. How's it going, bro? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Are you a writer? Are you a purveyor of stories? Do you enjoy sharing ideas and just imaginings and creativity? Do you enjoy stories that twist and turn, and at the very end you do not even know what you're looking at? I'm a girl just trying to get back home, and yes. Ooh, cool. What do you write? I would be absolutely... If you want to join the Discord, I would love to see your work. We have public stories where you can drop your stories if you want me to read them. We've got the Writers Unleashed community, where if you have any of your writings that you want to promote, feel free to drop them in here. And the community know I enjoy them. I don't do them. Okay, well, if you want, you can join the Discord to read other people's stories, because all of these are posted from other people, and some of them are from me. And there's, yeah. So if you're interested in a writing community, feel free to join the Discord and lurk around and see if any of the stories catch your eye. Don't have Discord. I'm stranded. If you cannot help, thanks anyways. I'm not sure what you mean, AMCR. I'm like, is this a game? This feels like a game. Dun dun dun. The challenge is to escape the dark. Okay. Do you have a knife with you? And a flashlight. It must be dark outside. Dropped my Cash App for any help possible for a ride. I see, I see. Okay. So, is there a number... Wait, do you have a phone? That's the first question. Do you have a phone on you? Or in the context of this, does the character have the phone on them? This is an interesting... Okay, let's work through this, right? Okay, you have a phone. Boom. Okay. Next thing. Okay, get this. So, now don't dox yourself and don't tell me where you are. But, basically look for something that's 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, like outside of the area that you're trying to get to. So let's say if like you need to go like downtown somewhere, get dropped off in like a rural area, right? So you got your phone, right? So wherever you currently are, look up basically like the number for like a taxi, right? And then, yes, I looked up the Uber already. It's yes, okay. So then what you do, right, is you get dropped off. And because, like, the whole time you're building up this story that basically you're lost, right? And you're like, well, my phone doesn't have my thing, so I can't, you know, this isn't the phone that, like, works, like, it doesn't work with my card. Like, I gotta go get my card. So then what you do is you're like, okay, well, you know, I'm just in the basement suite. And then you basically, like, walk through the gate of a random house, jump the fence, walk out the gate of the house across the way from it, and you're like 15, 20 minutes away from where you need to be. No, it's actually not a story, but thanks. so much for your help. Okay, well, I mean, it's a story to me. That's a short story I could write, you know. That's a great one. Okay, good sir. What do you need today? Oh no, I am very much lost. What must I do? Okay, good sir. What you must do is remember that you must not press the redeem. The redeem button is not your friend. Okay, that is the very first thing you need to do. The very second thing that you need to do is you need to go and you need to understand where you are. You know where you are, sir? Don't say where you are. Just know where you are. Yes. Okay, you are there. That is very good. Okay, now what you do is you find a number for something near you that can take you where you need to go, or as far as they will go, and then you use the strategy I like to call, oh, I am over there, and then you go over there and you don't come back. It is a very much okay, and it is like you're not going to be in this area very much longer, so you don't need to worry about it. And then, oh no, look at that, it is not a go. So you get out and then you get home and it is like, oh no. You find out, do you know what the twist at the end of the story is? Yeah, you left your phone in the fucking Uber car. So now you don't have your phone. So you got home, but now you don't have your phone. And they're gonna be going up to that house that you dropped off at with your phone looking for you. They're gonna know that ain't you. And then you're going to get, it's going to be an interesting time, and you could develop the story out from there. But the entire intro of it is you trying to get home. Like, let's say you're like drunk partying and shit, and you went on like a random tour bus or something. You wound up in a completely different city, and you're like, fuck, I don't have any money. I don't have fucking anything to get back home. And then you get home, but you've lost your phone. And then the realization that you had to have had your phone to get the Uber to, like, so it had to be in the Uber. And then it's like, oh no, that house that I dropped it off. It's like, should I go back to, like, wherever it was if I can remember where the house got dropped off? And maybe explain them, be like, hey, if someone comes and says there's a phone here, can you say there is? And there's a guy in the basement. That would be great. I would absolutely love that. Dude, this is a solid story. No, sir, actually, I was almost, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. How am I not making sense, though? Like, you're out having a good time, having a party, you can't get home, so you ditch a ride, you lose your phone, right? But you have to get your phone back, so the challenge there is, oh, you have to go to the house. Now the second question is, has the Uber driver already come back with the phone and talked to them? So now they're like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? And then you're like, well, maybe you know these people and you didn't realize that the house that you chose subconsciously was like this house. And it's like, just as you go through this, it's unraveling more and more and more about this story. And it's like, oh my god, it just keeps going further and further and further until it's like you wind up getting back and it's like the it's like maybe the Uber driver is actually turns out to be like one of the dudes that you like partied with earlier that night or something like that, or like you know in one of you, it'd been like a week-long binge or something like that, and you know, you could tie that all in really, really nicely. But yeah, very interesting. But anyways, that's my idea. Just ditch a car. Like, is what it is, man. Okay, here we go. Where were we? Wear and tear, changing fashion trends as company's product eliminates the need for repeat purchases due to durability issues. The only drivers for additional sales will be customers losing their items or desiring more for variety. Different styles or colors. This raises the core concern. Is such a business model sustainable in the long term, or is the company doomed once everyone who wants the product owns it? Ooh, the challenge of a perfect product. A perfect product like self-repairing clothing fundamentally disrupts traditional business models. Most companies depend on recurring revenue from replacements, upgrades, or planned obsolescence. Oh my god! It said it without us Even typing it in, I didn't even think that it would straight up say planned obsolescence, even though we had not mentioned planned obsolescence at all. Fuck, man, that is brutal. It even knows. That's how rampant it is. Fuck. Computer companies, they release new models with enhanced features, encouraging upgrades even if older devices still function. Clothing companies, they rely on seasonal trends, wear and tear, or shifting customer tastes to drive repeat purchases. Contrast, self-repairing clothing that doesn't break or wear out means customers only need to buy once, bearing loss or a desire for variety. Once the market is saturated, meaning most potential customers own the product, sales would drop sharply, relying solely on new customers from population growth or occasional additional purchases. This presents a significant hurdle to long-term growth and profitability. Is the company doomed after market saturation? Not necessarily. While the business faces unique challenges, its longevity depends on how it adapts to the lack of repeat purchases. Let's explore the challenges. I'm going to see here, does it mention that if there's no repeat purchases, then there's no need to recreate the product? Which means you don't basically have an infinite assembly line. You create a certain amount of the product, then you shut the factories down, and you're just raking in money, and there's no more expenses until everything's sold, and then when you're like, okay, we're running low, open the factories back up again. So it's like, I wonder if it's going to go down how the fact that normal companies are always continuously producing a product, and how not continuously producing a product would also affect this. Challenges. Limited recurring revenue. After the initial wave of sales, the company cannot rely on customers replacing worn-out items, severely limiting repeat business. Market saturation. Once the target market owns the product, new sales depend on external factors like population growth or geographic expansion, which may not scale quickly enough. No product improvement. The inability to create a better product rolls out strategies like upgrades or technological advancements that drive sales in other industries. Strategies for sustainability. Despite these obstacles, the company could adopt several approaches to maintain revenue and extend its lifespan. Expand market reach. Global expansion. Entering international markets could delay saturation and sustain sales growth over time. New demographics. Targeting different customer segments such as professional attire, sportswear, or children's clothing could broaden the customer base. Diversify the product line. Aesthetic variety. Offering a range of styles, colors, and designs could encourage customers to buy multiple items, even if they don't need replacements. For instance, someone might want a self-repairing jacket in both blue and black. Limited editions. Collaborating with designers or releasing exclusive collections could create demand for collectible or status-driven purchases. Complementary offerings. Accessories. Selling related products like self-repairing bags, shoes, or hats could generate additional revenue. Services offering a customization, embroidered, tailoring, or styling advice could create new income streams without altering the core product. Rental models for expensive or niche items. A rental or subscription service could provide, of course, I didn't even think of that. I love how it went straight for a subscription for clothing. One day, guys, there'll be a subscription for fucking clothing. There'll be subscription for fucking air, bro. Leverage the technology. Licensing. The self-repairing technology has applications beyond clothing in automotive or medical industries. Licensing it to other sectors could create a steady income stream. Partnership. Collaborating with other brands could introduce the technology to new markets. Build brand prestige. Luxury positioning. Marketing the clothing as a premium exclusive product, similar to luxury watch brands and durable goods. Could justify high prices and maintain profitability with lower sales volumes. Sustainability appeal. Highlighting the environmental benefits of a product that never needs replacement could attract eco-conscious customers willing to pay a premium. Financial strategy. Invest early profits. High margins from initial sales could be invested in other ventures, real estate stocks to diversify revenue, trade, and programs. Offering incentives to trade in older styles for new designs could encourage additional purchases even if the product remains functional. Sustainability is a business model. Sustainability of this business model hinges on the company's ability to adapt If it relies solely on selling the perfect product until saturation, it risks stagnation. However, with proactive strategies, it can remain viable. Short-term success. The initial launch of a revolutionary product, like self-repairing clothing, could generate significant profits, especially if it disrupts traditional markets and captures a large share quickly. Long-term viability. Beyond saturation, the company must shift focus to alternative revenue sources, variety-driven sales, services, licensing, or brand-driven prestige to avoid decline. Historical parallels exist in industries with durable goods. Luxury watchmakers like Rolex or tool manufacturers like Leatherman sustain themselves through quality, reputation, and occasional purchases. Even they benefit from some replacement cycles or upgrades elements absent here, the self-repairing clothing company must go further, innovating within the constraints of its perfect product. Conclusion. The company is not inherently doomed, but its longevity requires evolution beyond a traditional sales model. By expanding its market, diversifying its offerings, leveraging its technology, and building a strong brand, can sustain itself even after market saturation. While it may not achieve the explosive growth of companies reliant on frequent replacements, strategic approach to revenue generation could ensure a profitable, if slower-paced future. Thus, the business model is sustainable with adaptation, but it demands creativity and foresight. Okay, let's add the caveat. Would the fact you do not need to continue to produce the item, you simply need a viable stockpile and the ability to replenish it at some point. The main cost of running a business is production. If no production is occurring, could this sustain the company? And I have like the perfect one to dive into after this because it already brought up planned obsolescence. To determine whether a company could be sustained without ongoing production, relying solely on a viable stockpile and the ability to replenish it at some point, we need to consider how eliminating production, the main cost of running a business, impacts its operations and long-term viability. Let's break down this step by step. Short-term sustainability. In the short term, halting production while drawing from a stockpile could indeed sustain a company, providing certain conditions are met. Elimination of product costs. Production often represents a significant expense, including manufacturing, labor, and raw materials. By stopping production, these costs disappear, reducing the company's overhead. If a sufficient stockpile exists, the company can continue selling without incurring these expenses, potentially generating profits from existing inventory. Sales continuity. The product is in demand and the stockpile is large enough, sales could persist for a period without new production. For example, a company with a revolutionary or highly desirable product might experience an initial sales surge, allowing it to operate profitably while relying on stored inventory. This approach could work temporarily, especially if the company is planned for a finite period of no production and has the cash flow to cover other expenses. Long-term viability. However, sustaining a company over the long term with this strategy faces significant challenges. While the query mentions the ability to replenish stockpile at some point, the lack of ongoing production introduces risks that could undermine the business. Here's why. Finite stockpile and market saturation. A stockpile, no matter how large, is finite. Once it's depleted, the company must resume production to replenish it. Sales outpace expectations and the stockpile runs out for replenishment. The company cannot meet demand, losing customers and revenue. Conversely, the market becomes saturated, meaning most potential customers already own the product. Sales will slow, leaving the company with excess inventory and no clear path for profitability. Evolving consumer preferences. Markets are dynamic and customer tastes change over time. Even a highly desirable product could lose appeal due to shifts in trends, fashion, or technology. Stockpile of identical items cannot adapt to these changes, risking unsellable inventory. For instance, self-repelling clothing might be revolutionary, but as styles change, stockpile could become outdated. Lack of innovation. Companies that stop producing cannot easily introduce new features, designs, or implementations. Competitors may seize the opportunity to offer enhanced versions of the product, eroding the company's market share. Without innovation, the business risks becoming stagnant and irrelevant. Ongoing fixed costs. Even without production, the company incurs fixed costs as stored for the stockpile, maintaining distribution, and alternative administrative expenses. These must be covered by sales revenue, which could decline if the stockpile ages or demand wanes. Over time, these costs could eat into the profits of sales, slow without a fresh supply. Inventory risks. A large stockpile ties up capital and carries risks like damage, theft, or obsolescence. If demand drops unexpectedly due to a competitor's innovation or an economic downturn, the company could be left with costly surpluses and no active production to pivot to a new strategy. Role of replenishment. The query specifies the ability to replenish the stockpile at some point, which expects production could resume when needed. This flexibility could mitigate some risks. If the company can accurately predict when to replenish before the stockpile depletes or demand shifts, it might maintain continuity. However, this assumes the company retains the infrastructure, workforce, and resources to restart production effectively after a hiatus, which may not be realistic. Delays or increased costs in resuming production could disrupt the business model. Real-world examples. Consider industries with durable goods. Luxury watches, brands like Rolex maintain prestige with timeless designs but still produce new models to keep customers engaged. Tools. Companies like Snap-on sell durable products but continue innovating to meet evolving needs rather than relying solely on a stockpile. These examples show that while a stockpile can support sales temporarily, long-term success requires ongoing production and adaptation. Conclusion. Eliminating production and relying on a viable stockpile could sustain a company in the short term by cutting major costs and leveraging existing inventory. However, this strategy is not viable long-term without active production. Markets evolve, consumer preferences shift, and competitors innovate. Challenges a static stockpile cannot address. The ability to replenish at some point helps, but only if timed perfectly and executed efficiently, which is uncertain. Ultimately, while a stockpile might buy time, a company needs ongoing production, innovation, and market responsiveness to thrive beyond the short term. Alright, now we're going to go to the absolute extreme and say, so the company at this point is failing and it decides to add in planned obsolescence. Company realized its sustainability issues and added planned obsolescence in the form of after a certain amount of time the clothes stop repairing. The first few years of the company, how do we say this? Before they had the full grasp of the sustainability problem, they made perfect product. So now that products are failing, people are saying that these first generation products still work even after sixth generation products have failed. This calls into question the planned, if there was planned obsolescence, after the fact. What are we talking about? We were talking about planned obsolescence. So we originally started with talking about, and welcome, Levi. How's it going? The longevity of a company that made the perfect product. And by it, we were doing like something that could never be improved. So like a piece of clothing that's self-repaired. So once the customer had bought it, there would be no need for the customer to continue to buy it. And then it mentioned planned obsolescence just as ways of, you know, where did it say it? Yeah, just the challenge of a perfect product. Perfect product self-repairing clothing fundamentally disrupts traditional business models. Most companies depend on recurring revenue from replacements, upgrades, or planned obsolescence. So it straight up said it without me even saying it. And then we talked about how you would sustain a company like that. Then I said, would the not having consistent production help? And actually not really. So now what we're looking at, it's cartel breaking strategy. Yeah, so now we're talking about like this hypothetical situation where let's say the first few years of the company, so the first generation clothing still works 10 years later, but the sixth generation product has failed. So now this calls the planned obsolescence after the fact into question and brings the reputation of the company into the ground. Would having a perfect product and a great reputation be more sustainable than a planned imperfect product that and the worst reputation? Yeah, how was your day, Levi? We were doing theme, and we expanded our theme. So, do they give some sort of guarantee of non-obsolescence? If not, then they're not exactly doing anything wrong. My day's been right. It's not, Levi, it's not so much that the company, it's just the perspective of the people. So it's like, from the people's perspective, they created the perfect product, and then they said, oh shit, this isn't sustainable, so they downgraded what the actual product was, and let's say put a lifetime on, like an aging mechanism on the chips that self-repair the clothing to make it so after, let's say, 5 to 8 years, it just slowly stops working. And it's the perspective of the consumer that if you had started with, if no one knew that the first generation of products or even the first generation of products were planned obsolescence, but no one ever specifically stated, you know, oh, we have technology that will like we purposefully put in an aging thing, there's no reason for it to be there. It's kind of like, I'd say the stupidest argument of, oh, the fluoride in, like, tap water. I mean, it's a basic, like, low-down comparison, but I think that's where it's at. And we were talking about theme, and we discovered a entirely new area of theme for the book. So the theme for the book, so let's start at the top. The topic of the book is consciousness, and the theme is a smaller piece of consciousness, which is how consciousness interacts with the real world, the duality of existence. Good people do bad things, bad people do good things. Then we extrapolate that to the question of, does being a good person negate bad actions that you do? And does being a bad person negate good actions that you do? I mean, yeah, people would probably get upset with the company. That said, unless the clothes are hella expensive, then it's no big deal. Yeah, usually, right? So, but then there's the comparison of what would the company look like if it had the perfect product versus what does the company look like without it. And because that's like the main whole point, right? It's just the theory crafting and hypotheticals of looking at both sides of the extreme. Because I like to look at both sides of the extreme. What would it look like if you had absolute planned obsolescence, and what would it look like if you had a perfect product? And then you have to find a balance between it that is satisfying enough to the customer that they like you and have a reputation with you, so you maintain them continuing buying your product after that extended warranty wears out, let's say. But even then, we can extrapolate even more from the theme of being like, how do you deal with forgiveness in a world where only good people are forgiven for their bad actions, but bad people are never recognized for their good actions? Without the perfect product, assuming no patent protection, they're always at risk of someone else coming along and selling a more perfect product. That's true, Levi. It always opens up the road for competition. That's true. I never thought about that. We're going to get some ads in a sec here, so I'm going to take a toke. But yeah, I like your perspective on it. It's definitely a... can reputation truly destroy a good product? Or can only a bad product destroy, you know? What do you mean by good people and bad people if it's not reflected in their actions? I mean, for instance, someone who is a murderer and, like, through the murder that they commit, I guess it's more of like adverse, like good outcomes come from their actions. It just happened to be that one of the people that they murdered, you know, is either also a bad guy. So it's like they caused some good by killing another bad guy. Or bad people as in like someone who's like a complete lying dickbag scammer, but he's like helped someone with something. It's kind of like, I think of like the all for one kind of thing, where it's like the reason that people follow all for one is because he's seen people at the lowest and given them what they needed when they needed it, and he knows exactly what people need. So it's like he's doing good for these people in their perspective, but he's overall doing bad. So would you say it's a good thing that he's improving these people's lives, or should he have just left these people's lives alone? Whereas for like good person, you know, are you a really good person, but like you lie all the time about just random shit? And it's like, well, you do a bad thing, but you're still a good person overall, as in like you have a good moral compass, you make good decisions, like as in, you know, you help people and stuff. You're not like a complete piece of shit, right? So, but it can be extrapolated in like the entirety of the scale. Like you could say like on like, oh, let's say Trump getting rid of illegal immigrants, but the fucking Epstein files. Is he a pedo? I don't know. Is he protecting one? I don't know. Is he helping the country? Yeah. Okay. Fuck. What are you gonna do? That's the way the world works, man. And that's kind of what the main theme really relates to, is like reality. And like despite it being in a fantasy world, it holds true to the struggles of conscious life, because consciousness is the topic of the story, and conflict in consciousness teaches value through existence. I think people shouldn't do bad things. Nobody's perfect, and people who do fewer bad things and more good things are going to be forgiven more readily. Yeah, I think it's more about like people that have good intent versus people that have bad intent. It's like the good outcomes of bad intent are not necessarily, you know, taken as highly. Like if you're thinking like there's the forgiveness scale and there's the what was the other one? Forgiveness scale and accountability scale. Or like recognition scale. Okay, recognition and forgiveness. Recognition for a good thing that you did despite being a bad person, and forgiveness for a bad thing that you did despite being a good person. And then you find along that scale where you can place something. I would say there's a sense that in your utilitarian society, people are held more responsible for the effect of their actions rather than their intent, and I don't think that's necessarily good. I see. I like that, because that gives depth to our like the real world, our utilitarian society. Yeah. Because it's like a mechanism that feeds off of that. And I find more in real life is bad people are recognized for doing good things, and those good things in turn make people want to forgive them for the bad things, whereas a good person doing a bad thing gets extremely fucking criticized because people know that they're a good person, so they're like, well, why the fuck did you do this? We know bad people do this, so we expect it out of them. And I think the range of expectation out of people, you expect bad people to do bad things, you expect bad outcomes. You expect good people to do good things, and you expect good outcomes. So when that is tempted and twisted, I think that adds depth to this layer of thematic discovery through the story of trying to say Gaia isn't bad for wanting conflict in life, and Anima isn't good for wanting species to be in a utopia. And I guess that would be the basic, like, transition of the message from those characters. Oh, I didn't take the toke. As always. Pack a toke, don't take a toke. That's how it goes. Okay. Sliding to your question about whether a company with a perfect product and a great reputation would be more sustainable than one with a planned, imperfect product and a damaged reputation. Scenario you've described is intriguing. A company starts with a perfect product, self-repairing clothes that last indefinitely, but later introduces planned obsolescence, causing newer products to fail, while the original ones keep going. This leads to a reputation crisis. Let's break it down and figure out which approach holds up better in the long run. Understanding the two scenarios. Perfect product with great reputation. Imagine the company stuck with its original plan. Clothes that repair themselves forever. In the early years, this builds a stellar reputation. Customers love the durability. True, Eddie. Oh, excuse me. Customers love the durability. Trust the brand, spread the word. Here's what this approach offers. Pros. Customer loyalty. People stick with the brand they trust. They might not need to buy often, but they'll recommend it to everyone they know. Premium pricing. A reputation of unmatched quality lets the company charge more, making up for fewer repeat sales. Sustainability appeal. Long-lasting clothing means less waste, which resonates with today's eco-conscious consumers. Innovation opportunities. Without churning out new versions, the company could focus on groundbreaking ideas like new clothing lines or technology. Cons. Fewer repeat purchases. Once customers have their clothes, they're set for a long time. Market saturation. Sales might slow after the initial rush, as everyone who wants the product already has it. High upfront costs. Perfecting self-repairing clothes likely took a big investment. Planned imperfect product with poor reputation. Now let's look at what happened. The company realized that endless durability wasn't financially sustainable, so they made newer clothes stop repairing after a set time. But here's the catch. Those first generation products are still working, while the 6th generation ones are failing. Customers notice, suspect planned obsolescence, and the company's reputation tanks. What does this look like? But also, like, imagine two people who each decide to go out and shoot someone. The one who decides is held in contempt, while the other is often forgiven. They both intended the same result, so I think they should be held in the same regard for it. Very true, Levi. I think the same thing, which, like, I think everyone should, but unfortunately that's not how the world works. This is why I love, like, imagining things. The things that I don't like in the real world, I just imagine them differently in the book. Even though at the end of the day, they always fall to the same fallacies that things did in the real world over time. Through evolution, corruption, abuse, and just, like, once you know a system, you know how to manipulate a system. So unless the system is continuously changing and no one ever figures out the fucking system, which is its own kind of fucking chaos, that would be an interesting thing to work with. A society that continuously shifts. There's so many horror movies that spawn from a government being capable of punishing people based on their intentions. It's very true, Beezus. But think about this, Beezus. So does religion. Fundamentally, a thought is a sin. If you think it, you have already sinned. At that point, all you can do is repent. But that's where abuse of the system comes in, right? How do you prevent abuse of the system? And in this case, like, it's not prevention so much as it is minimalization. You know it's going to be abused, but you can find and fix the loopholes. One of the biggest problems is the people in power find the loopholes and they're like, damn, that's fucked up. I gotta use that, bro. What the fuck? And then they never fix it. Because they abuse it. But that's the whole power corrupts thing, right? I don't need to get bogged down in government being able to nonsense because I'm not statist. Do you punish intentions before the action happens? That's where the abuse comes from. Yeah, I think intention should only be used, like, after the fact. Like, for instance, in Levi's thing, where it's like, two people plan to do something, and let's say one person is to lure the person there, and the other person is to kill them. The intent between them is the same, but even if it's proven in a court of law that the person lured the person there, they're not going to get as hard a sentence as the person who actually killed them. Even though if you look at the plan as a whole, it might not have worked if the first guy didn't lure the guy to be killed in the first place. Like, if the trap was, like, if there was no trap. So, you punish actions, you don't hold actions in contempt, though. You hold people in contempt based on your personal inference about their intentions. And that's more of like a social justice versus a governmental justice. One is how you approach people and treat people, and the other one is, are you going to jail or not? Same with like the idea of like an ex-con. It's like, well, you've clearly integrated, especially if like it's been like 10 years since you were in jail. It's like you've clearly reintegrated back into society. Or you just got better at hiding the shit because now you know how to not get caught. So, there's one or the other, right? Pros, repeat costs. Or wait, where are we? I think that's where we are. Clothes that fail mean customers have to buy again, keeping money flowing. Steady revenue. Popular, regular product cycles create predictable income. Customer engagement. New designs or features could keep people interested, at least initially. Cons. Reputation damage. Once people realize the company shortened product lifespans on purpose, trust evaporates. Social media amplifies the backlash. Customer loss. Angry buyers might switch to competitors offering better value or durability. Well, there you go. It brought that one up, Levi. Legal risks. If this looks deceptive, regulators could step in with fines or lawsuits. Short-term focus. Constant updates might prioritize quick cash over real quality. Comparing sustainability. Financial sustainability. Perfect product, fewer repeat purchases could hurt revenue, but the company isn't helpless. It could charge higher prices for premium quality, expand to new markets, or offer variety, add services like customization or accessories. The growth might be slower, but it's steady and built on trust. Imperfect product. Forcing customers to replace failing clothing boosts sales short term, but with a trashed reputation. Sales could drop as people walk away. Marketing costs skyrocket to fight bad press. Legal battles might drain cash. What looks like a win now could collapse later. Reputational sustainability. Perfect product. Great reputation is gold. It cuts marketing costs. Word of mouth does the work. builds a loyal base, and gives the company room to pivot or expand. It's a long-term asset. Imperfect product. A ruined reputation is a nightmare in today's world. Bad news spreads fast. Think viral posts and scathing reviews. Rebuilding trust takes years and tons of effort, if it's even possible. Look at Steam reviews. Long-term viability. Perfect product. This aligns with where the world's heading. People want sustainability, ethical products. The company could become a leader in quality and eco-friendliness, even if it means rethinking revenue beyond constant sales. I like that. Rethinking revenue beyond constant sales. I think loyal fans and a premium niche. Imperfect product. The quick cash from planned obsolescence doesn't last. Betrayed customers don't come back. Competitors swoop in with better options, and the company's stuck playing defense. It's a losing game over time. It's a losing game over time. The verdict. So, would sticking with a perfect product and a great reputation be more sustainable than switching to a planned imperfect product and ending up with a worse reputation? Yes, it would. Here's why. Trust wins. Strong reputation keeps customers coming back, not just for replacements, but for anything the company offers. It's a foundation that's hard to shake. This is why you need to, if you're creating a product, even if you're like a content creator, even if you're a streamer, if you're not matching with your base on a foundation and building off of that and heading in a specific direction, you need to be building a secondary base. And the thing I would say for this is look at Asmongold. Asmon started as a WoW streamer, and even to this day, people come into his stream every day and ask him when he's going to play WoW again, when he said 1,000 times he's probably not going to play WoW ever again. So even from the original fan base, it's like he's completely recultivated the entirety of the presence of his stream and what he does. Because then he did just like variety games, like Souls-like and stuff, and then he was doing, I think he was doing like commentary and stuff, and then there was the trial. And then he's like the Johnny Depp trial, and then he started doing like political commentary because that was just opened up a whole new door. But it's like, sometimes you do have to go against your original base because it's no longer viable. And that's changing directions from short-term viability to long-term viability. That's why I never wanted to originally be a streamer, because I'm like, I don't create content that's long-term viable. And then when I was like, well, what if I do writing content? Because I think streaming has evolved significantly over the last 10 years. And people used to think of it primarily as just gaming, but now it's evolved into pretty much fucking anything, and pretty much everyone streams. So, using it as a third-party mechanism to hold myself accountable to writing is an optimization of streaming, whereas before I would feel I was turning a hobby like gaming into a job. And I was like, not interested in that. That's why I had a YouTube channel instead, but I just kind of abandoned that after 2 episodes of A Talks Taco Time. Because I'm a lazy piece of shit. Still think you can get pretty far with almost perfect product and a good brand identity. Imagine a world where only poor people wear clothes that last forever. Like it becomes something of a class signifier that you own clothes that wear out over time. Like they only make like the plain, like imagine they're the only company that makes like plain white t-shirts, like plain gray sweatpants. You know, the most generic bottom of like a black baseball cap, like the most plain jumpsuits, basically, and then it's just like this signifier of, you're a poor little shit, you can only afford that, I'm fancy, man, I get a new pair of clothes every fucking day. That is such an interesting idea for the social side of it, and how people interact with the product, because people will choose a product that they think people will like as a third party over a product that is functional. That is the reason why fanny packs never took off. They're like the most functional thing, but everyone thinks they're cringe as fuck. And only Karens wear fucking fanny packs. But imagine if fanny packs were actually popular. It's like tacky old hoodies like yours become vintage Yeah. And then it's like companies like that sell merch, and merch becomes like even more, you know, what it is. It's like I gotta start selling body pillows, bro. That's where the money's at. We gotta sell body pillows. We'll have a bunch ready for TwitchCon 2027, guys. Oh, it's kind of. I have so many ideas. It's flooding through my fucking head. It's just retarded. Oh my god. But yeah, there's definitely trust wins, and you want to build a good foundation, and that allows people buying pre-ripped jeans that automatically repair to their slightly ripped state because you can't afford to keep buying real jeans. I mean, at this point, my jeans look like that just through the wear of them. But yeah, I never understood the fashion of ripped jeans. You know what we said, guys? Guys, you know what we said when we were in high school?
The only reason why girl jean styles turn to ripped knees. If you know, you know.
That was literally the meme back in the day in fucking high school. It was like you could tell that she was a slut because she'd worn out the knees on her jeans. And then just somehow in like 2004, 2005, 2006, it just became the norm. And now it's like you can't buy a pair of jeans that aren't fucking ripped. It's fucking ridiculous. Premium power quality lets you charge more, balancing out the lack of frequent sales. Future-proofing. Sustainability matters more every day. A durable product positions the company as a leader, not a villain. Reputation risks outweigh gains. The hit from planned obsolescence, especially when early products outlast new ones, is brutal. Losing trust undoes everything the company built. The planned obsolescence route might look smart for a minute with all those repeat purchases, but once customers catch on, fallout is too steep. Lost sales, angry buyers, and a brand name in the gutter. Sticking with the perfect product, even with its challenges, builds something lasting. The company could adapt. Think modular designs or stellar service to keep customers engaged without betraying them. In short, a perfect product with a great reputation beats a flawed one with a trashed reputation for sustainability every time. It's about playing the long game and trust in the ace up your sleeve. You miscalibrate your planned obsolescence and it just ends up lasting basically forever. Oh, that would be funny. I mean, like, the toys that my niece and my nephew grow up playing with are the toys that I grew up playing with. They're downstairs. And we're going to do a tour tomorrow. I'm going to point out how old some of that shit is. Literally. Some of that shit's from when I was like 2 or 3 years old. That's 31 years old. That's insane. And it's still like electronics and shit on it still work. Loot Zero! Welcome. How's it going, brother? Welcome to the stream, good sir. How are you? We just finished the commentary section. So now we are moving on to if anyone has anything they want me to read, because we haven't had anyone's anything to read for a while. I hope everyone's been working on their stuff